and welcome to News from the Pew. We take all the stories from around the internet and distill them into being slightly less scary. I am part of the dynamic duo on this Friday night with you. Happy Feast of St. Padre Pio, Rick Barrett, joined as always by Mr. Steve Cunningham of CensusFidelium.tv and all the other Census Fidelium stuff that you all know and love. And we all need to start by giving a big congratulations to Steve, for he has welcomed another one into his litter, continuing to expand the Cunningham name. So congratulations on the birth of a beautiful baby. And look at you being a champ coming on out. Look, he still even got his tag.
We're still in the hospital, so I'm at the home with the two kids. And our beloved hosts, Mr. Barrett, already misgendered our little.
I totally did. I don't have any kids, so I don't know. I thought they put the pink blankets on him or something like that. So
not even 3 hours old, he's misgendering.
Also, you need to stop putting the patriarchy on her. Okay, don't tell her what she can and can't be. That's not proper. You can't do that. She has to be able to choose her own adventure. It's a Mad Lib at this point.
Dude, the guy that was doing the watching the vitals, I think he was one of them. I think he was a zombie.
Really?
Yeah, we both mentioned something, and he goes, "Well, modern tech." Because she goes, "Now, wish that I keep telling him that he should take my place, being pregnant. That men should be that." And he goes, "Well, with modern tech, anything's possible." And we kind of looked at each other, going, "Yeah, we're not talking to this guy again."
Yeah. You touch my kid, I will neuter you. It won't be modern tech. It'll be good old fashioned ancient tech if you keep that up.
I think he's one of them.
The more I think about it, I see. I've come up with my theory this week that children are like championship rings. You can't. The more you have, the more legendary you are. So in the NBA where a guy gets one ring. And they're like, oh, yeah, whatever, dude. That's whatever. But, MJ's got 6. And, so he's the GOAT. LeBron's got, the more kids. You got 3 now. You got the 3-peat. So you're a 3-time champ.
We're above the what is it? The current fertility rate, I think it's 2.1.
The Cunningham is single-handedly trying to repopulate the world. You and John Arrington.
Oh, we had Arrington. He has almost a offensive unit. Ryan's got another one coming. He's out there. I mean, they both can have a rugby match.
You guys are all champs. Plaza's got at least 4.
I just got a 2-3 zone now. It was man to man, a box and 1 if you know basketball lingo. Yeah, and we just didn't have the 1. Now we got a 2-3 zone going.
Yep. At this point, I'm Charles Barkley at this point, so hopefully I can get on and we get 1, but we'll see. God wills it.
Scandalize our viewers every time I see that. And I've only had 2, but once I saw that she was a girl, I immediately thought Bad Boys 2.
Yeah. I can't even repeat it. But it's legendary. No. It's legend. I know exactly what you mean.
But if anybody wants to find those days and do that with me, how I am. I'll roll with it. We'll do it. We don't have to do the language part. We can make a cleaner version.
Yep.
That's how I like having fun with other people like that.
Yeah, the Bad Boys reference is fantastic. What are your intentions, man? You look 30. I'm here to see your daughter, sir. Love that. It's classic. Absolutely classic. But yes, we are hanging out with you on this Friday night or whenever you're taking a watch of this. Hope you've had a good week. It's been a fairly odd week, at least the way it looks. Everything has just been kind of weird. Maybe that's just me kind of getting into the acceptance of the upside down world that we live in at this point, or just however it is. So let me give you an example. This is Stacey Abrams at the beginning of the week getting caught, not even getting caught. She just says it at this point. She doesn't even care. And this is her idea on heartbeats with little babies.
Such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body away from her.
So in case that audio was pretty tough, but she says the heartbeat at 6 weeks is manufactured. Like it's like one of those C tapes you listen to at night to try and get you to sleep. Um, Steve, sin makes you stupid.
That's for darn sure. But so is blood money, I guess. Well, they're not. Are they stupid or are they evil? Part of me
You
wants
don't
to
have to.
say,
That doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
I don't think they're stupid. I think they know what they're doing. They get paid a lot of money from. I mean, check out the documentary Blood Money. It's on the YouTube, I think. Still, at least it was when I saw it. They get paid big bucks from these guys, and they see their little. They see that fountain being turned off. They're going to get a little upset. Why? I mean, why else? Sure, you could bring in the money. Okay. I still, obviously, money's the root of all evil. They're going to go after that part. They're upset that Roe's gone. They're all nationalists, as most everyone that's listening may be. No offense to anybody out there. It's kind of like how Father R talks about, like most of us, everyone's a modernist. You're swimming in that water, and it takes massive amount of virtue, grace, and just learning the faith to stay out of those errors. Same thing with nationalists. If you're watching from the USA, you're just bombarded. Right now, the President's Cup golf tournament is in Charlotte. They walk a couple of feet, everyone's going, USA, US versus the world. It's literally USA versus the world. And notice when you see flags, this country, this country, this country, this country. But USA, it's one. Now, again, I keep bringing up, are we Russia? And we brought up last time, Hobbes, centralized, big centralized, top down all. You rule from a 10-mile square. The Bill of Rights is for everything from the ice world to Hoth to kingdom come. If you say something to somebody, if Rick goes out and says, that gun's not allowed in here, somehow that means Congress shall not pass because of the Miracle Amendment that made everything incorporated. Somehow if the city says, oh, we're banning cussing, everyone's losing. Oh, free speech, free speech. Even though you have this document in your own state house and no one cares about, even less than the one that's in the federal one. So you have top down like that instead of bottom up where it's small, and then obviously that grows. And when it gets too big, you break up and you do it again. You break up, you do it again. You're kind of like gremlins in a way. And there's no massive tyrannical Leviathan. We like that. You go on Fox, you go on CNN, you hear country, this country, the one nation under God, one nation, one nation. That only happened after Lincoln's War. And they said, I don't care about slavery. I just care about keeping this union together. Was not about it. Even though Jefferson and all the previous ones were like, you want to get out? Get out. We'll still trade with you. We'll work something out. Not a big deal. We broke away from England, which the Declaration is a secession document. We're breaking away. The train of abuses, I'm pretty sure people scoring at home could come up with a longer train of abuses today than they did then. I mean, you could do that in the first 5 seconds, figure out, you know what? I can name 20 problems right now, and we should get out because of these reasons. Call me crazy. But no, where our mindset is all about that, we can only stay like this. We can't break away. So with Graham, we were talking about, we got to get a federal ban on abortion. You just banned it. You just did it. You just won what we've been trying to do for, 40, 50 years? Won.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming. Even the people that thought Trumpzilla's people in the SCOTUS would maybe get it, it was still like, man, that's great. We got 3 in there. That could happen. Probably ain't gonna happen. Yeah. No one's good. No one went to Vegas and put a grand down. Say, you know what? Give me 10 on Roe dying this year. They would have laughed at you. They would have taken the money and laughed at you. Look at that. Look at that guy. It's like Chevy Chase. Let me bring you out back, kick you, and we'll call it a day. No, that happened. So instead of being excited, which there's some people that are to the level of still partying and not thinking about going locally and trying to get this at different elections where there's 4 states that are up for a vote in November. No, we're bringing it back to bringing it back to the feds. All right, let's put it back here. And now you got Brandon out there saying that the church is it's too extreme for the church. What are you talking about, dude? I mean, to the point, like, all right, you was talking about, bishops getting upset with France. Anybody, any bishop in the U.S. wants to call out Brandon besides tweeting about it? Let's do something
Right.
a little bit stronger than tweeting about it. How about that? Call me crazy. But it's everyone's looking at the fence. Why? What's coming up in 2 months or a month and a half? Voting. Dr.
Yep.
Paul said if it went for abortion, these guys would never win. So they had to bring it back in. This is my personal tin hat story. They had to bring it back in, get it in the TV, get it in there. Look at Graham. He's doing that. He's wanting to ban abortion. Well, what if you're in a state that already banned it?
Already banned here. Banned
Yeah.
here.
So
So,
if that goes through, and you got pro-lifers all jacked about it, what can the other side do when their boys get in charge?
well, you're also giving them 14 weeks to do whatever they want,
Yeah.
to do ungodly things, and to do things like what Stacey Abrams. There is no heartbeat. There's none of that stuff. Like, it doesn't even matter. We'll flush the whole system out, and that's the problem. Is you give them that place to actually work, that place to maneuver. Plus, Graham's bill is already a loser because it does the rape, incest, life of the mother nonsense, which is always a backdoor to it. And this whole thing, with Steve talking about the nation, I've been doing some research for my speech at the St. Benedict Center coming up in, I think, like 2 weeks. And the USCC, the USCCB, all of them have always said nation, always said country. Oh, they're just as much of an incorporationist as anybody else. I mean, yes, we all know the USCCB is a political organization. Somebody once put it, it's the leftist prayer group. I understand that, but it's still part of the propaganda. That's what I'm saying. Some of you will probably cringe, and when you know this, you walk into a Catholic church, there's an American flag and a Vatican flag. There's around the 4th of July, if you go to certain masses, they play God Bless America on the way out, or on the way in. And it's like, nope, not church hymn, but okay. And that's it's all part of that indoctrination. The easiest thing, folks, if you look in the Constitution, the very first paragraph, it says these United States. What does everybody say? The United States. It's a pretty big difference, that change of that one word. These United versus the United. These United, Union, 50 states, and laboratories of democracy where they do all this stuff. The United States, F-15s, hot dogs, Blobistan, nobody gets out alive. Everybody stays in until the end.
I'll take one more step. We are the United States.
Yeah, you might as well just hack off the S.
Just hack it off. Because coming election day, what are you seeing? You got Grissom Newsom putting billboards in Mississippi. What Mississippian should allow that? That would not be a thing prior to 1860. And don't go into slavery. That was not about slavery. That's part of the whole reconstruction of your thinking and history on that. Stevenson, all right, there's a lot more people than Stevenson. That would never happen because Mississippians were just look at, what is that guy? What is that foreigner doing, putting it in our state? Or some guy, foreigner, sending money to a guy in your state running, like here in North Carolina when Roy Cooper was running, guys in California and New York was sending money down. Storos was.
Beto O'Rourke right now.
Yes.
In Texas. They're just funnel. I mean, that's a slush fund because he's going to get blown out anyway, but they just funnel money to him hand over foot. It's still a great way for them to get money tax-free into the slush fund and then distribute it to all the little power players. And there is like Newsom's calling out DeSantis and wants to debate him and do all these other nonsensical things, this, that, and the other thing. And DeSantis, is not taking the bait. But that's like the prime minister of the UK trying, I'm going to debate the prime minister of Spain. And the one in Spain's like, why? What are we debating about?
Here's what you're not going to hear on Tucker or anybody. Sanctuary cities is a good idea.
If you want to do it in your country, I don't give a crap.
Think locally, act locally. Why?
Yeah.
If you're sitting in Kentucky, just picking a state, why do you care what San Francisco does?
It shouldn't.
Why? If you're in Oregon, why do you care what San Francisco does? If that's on San Franciscoans, California is on Californians. You see what I mean? So
Mhm.
if a sanctuary city, that's acting locally, thinking locally. If that was reversed, and well, we have that. There are cities that are sanctuary gun cities, right? We're cool
Yep.
with that. We're not cool with the other way.
Yeah.
It goes back to that. It's okay if we. It's not. It's okay when we do it. So, and you got people there wanting to be, abortion sanctuary cities. That should make. I just saw like Bishop Tobin tweet out about Brandon about the Catholic thing. He should be calling himself Catholic, be pro-abortion. Thinking locally, acting locally. If you look up Rhode Island, that place has codified Roe v. Wade. I have yet to
100%.
hear. Yeah, I haven't heard anybody in that state upset about doing anything. If you're going to change one or two things, the United States in total, or United State, if you want to go with it, with like I said, Russia, you got the one capital, gigantic landmass. We got one capital, gigantic landmass. Tell me I'm wrong. We
No.
just cut out the states. That's it. It's just provinces and within. Um, what was I going with? If why, or could you end up converting Rhode Island, which is what
Million and a half.
billion
Million
and a
and a
half,
half people.
maybe. It's the smallest state in the union.
It's 40,
Maybe
it's 35 wide by 45 long. That's miles.
which one do you think is easier?
I don't know.
I'm
You
just,
clearly haven't been to Rhode Island. Your brother
yeah,
has, but you clearly haven't been to Rhode Island to try and actually convert them.
no,
The
you know
problem
what I
is,
mean. If you're going to try
yeah,
to
I know.
convert the
I'm just being
entire thing,
facetious at this point. Yeah, it should be technically easier, and it's just Providence when you're talking about Rhode Island, like any other city.
any other
It's
state.
the dominant force. Which is, I mean, of course, you can take heart in the middle of Providence is beautiful St. Mary's on Broadway, which is
Uh-huh.
a shining beacon of Catholicism at this point. But the problem is with a lot of states like that, Rhode Island supposedly is the highest number of Catholics in the country, just based on population. But you wouldn't know it because the Gina Raimondo, who's now the current secretary of something under the Bidens, she went to LaSalle High School. She's a supposed Catholic, and she took the endorsement of Planned Parenthood when she was running for governor, and she took it proudly. So it's really the population's submitting to the political philosophy and allowing politics to dominate the way I've looked at it, they allow politics to dictate their religion instead of religion dictating their politics. Well, I'm a Democrat, so like whatever, man. We can
That's
have SSM or abortion, whatever, blah
see.
blah.
We just did a
And I
show
know
on
Tobin's
Garcia
not
Moreno.
great. I know Tobin's not great, but he does the best he can up
Oh
there.
yeah. That's not smashing Bishop Tobin.
Oh,
That's
I know you're not. I know you're not.
yeah. That's
I'm
just
just saying.
showing a perfect example of the tweet. The mindset is at DC, where our
Mhm.
mindset should be if you're in Rhode Island, Providence, or if I'm here in North Carolina, Raleigh, Columbia, South Carolina, wherever you're, Richmond, Virginia, wherever you should be focused on that. Zero
I
in
don't
on
even think Cath. I don't even Cath. I don't think Catholics even know what would know what to do at this point because we've lost that evangelization power because we've seen the statistics. Half of people don't believe that the Eucharist is actually the body and blood of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. There's such a it's faith by check mark at this point here in this United State. Like I checked that I'm a Catholic on my census because I was, my mom and dad were Catholic and I got baptized. But this idea of going out to evangelize, people can't even stand their ground, Stephen, in an abortion debate because they're too busy to run away because they're busy of being insulted. And if you're afraid of being insulted, find yourself the humility prayer and read it every day and then go out to battle because
I
that's
blame Twitter.
Twitter, Facebook, social
I
media.
blame Twitter for it. I blame Twitter for all that because it's easier to say, "Hey, I'm evangelizing" by tweeting out an apologetic statement or saying that you're trying to work on a pro abort or something like that on Twitter, than actually going out and going face to face and talking to somebody and putting say like the blood, sweat, and tears out, standing in the sun, or doing a festival or anything like that. Or it's easier to sit in your house and pretend you're evangelizing with a video, or which videos do evangelize. I won't go negative on that. They do. I mean, I have how many videos out?
Yeah, I was about to say you're
I
gonna
mean,
walk that one back
but
real quick, aren't you?
yeah, but no, but sales is face to face.
Yeah.
If you're on
Well,
sale, if you don't do a video and send it to a friend saying, "Buy this product. Here's a video." You go show it to them. You're in there. You have the fire that you love it. It's just like seeing somebody seeing a movie. You're talking to somebody on the street. Or you're talking about a game. The passion you have, the facial expressions, the movement, the body language, the tone of your voice, everything that goes about it. Where you're looking, how you feel, the sweat in your palms, things like that. That all equals out to this guy is, he's all about it. Whereas, it's just not the impersonal part, which is the whole Rona thing. It took the person out of the equation on things. Because you can have a trad mass. I know of trad parishes that aren't growing. I don't know after post Cove and post TC, because TC was a great sales pitch for a lot. It was evangelizing a lot, but pre TC and pre Rona, there was I know quite a few parishes that weren't growing. That was still either buys or one was there, another group was in on another. They weren't growing because the people, they were just, it's that whole Rod Dreher mindset of the Benedict option.
Oh, the Benedict option.
Yeah, his version. We're running away and we're putting a guard down and we're not going to do anything. It's the opposite of what God and Christ talks about, but the light in your bushel, letting it outshine, being the salt of the earth, being of the world, not in it, being in the world, not of it. We're just putting these walls up, which, yes, run to the cloister if you're called for cloister, but you gotta be. You gotta show other. This guy loves what he's talking. This guy loves the faith. This guy. Why are you so joyful in this time? That's what the saints did. They went up to Philip Neri. Hey, why are you like this? They went up to other guys. Why are you like this? They might have killed them afterwards, but they figured out who they were, why they were, and they lived it in the street. So it goes back to a couple of sermons that people talked about. It said the salt loses its flavor. It's nothing good to be trying on us. We just gotta. It doesn't matter what mass you go to on this one, especially in this one in particular. I know plenty of those sort of people that evangelize. Great, St. Paul Street team. They go across the world right now. Sure, there was a priest like I mentioned before in South Carolina. I think he's on the coast now, but he was north of Columbia. He had full page ads in the newspaper on apologize. What is the Eucharist? What is the papacy? What is the church? What is this? He made his parishioners go door to door to evangelize and invite people to fish fries or the mass or music, whatever they had going on. The only problem with him is he had a horrible looking parish and even worse mass. They had the starting lineup. Now your starting lineup for your Catholic mass. She has curls. She's 5'6". She loves this. It's Susie. And then I always like, wait, what did you guys come up with this? The pastor you've had for the last 12 years, Father Smiles. And the band, hey, welcome to anybody that's been here before. But if it weren't for that, I think the guy would have converted the city. If he had a really good, authentic, beautiful mass, because it was right next to a Baptist, right next to a Mormon. It's like, all right, it's the same thing. These guys are going to go like, what's the difference here? They don't know. But if you had something on, if there was a fraternity ICK parish there, and that priest mindset was that, I think they would have converted the city easily. And if we had more of doing that, and that's not just up on the priests to do that. They're busy. They don't have time. Laymen got to come up with the ideas to them and say, hey, we will put this together. We will fund the posting of this photo. You write up the article. We'll make the pretty. We'll put it in the newspaper. We'll make it there. We'll pay for it. We'll pay this. We'll print out the invites. We'll make sure that it gets there. You come up with the idea and give us the okay. And we'll make sure everyone goes door to door and invites them in. Stuff like that. Well, laymen got to do this.
There's a couple of things. Let me rewind back to the you blame Twitter for it. Yes, that social media has aided in how quickly it's happened. But pastors could have hid behind pastoral statements for hundreds of years. I could have easily written pastoral statements, printed those out, and called it a day as evangelizing. Two, and I'm not trying to drag them. Everybody thinks I drag them. I just paid my dues. That's really what your Knights of Columbus should be doing. Your Knights of Columbus should be an evangelizing army of men going out, doing things to get into the community and participate. If there's a fair, they got to be there. If there's a gun show, they got to be there. If it's a county whatever, they got to be there. Why? Because in case those questions come up. Now, once again, there are some that do this. There are some Knights of Columbus chapters that do that. So that's why I'm not trying to drag the whole organization. But for a lot of them, it's like, well, we're going to clean up some trash around the church. Awesome. That's fine. You're doing some community work. That's great. But in a lot of them, it's kind of just meetings, planning out the whole year revolves around Lent and planning out the fish fries. I will say there was a mass, there was a Novus Ordo mass my wife and I used to go to before we finally ended up at the Latin mass. The priest actually walked his neighborhood every week, so he was doing the best he could to evangelize. But unfortunately, his mass had projectors and a band and all kinds of nonsense. So I agree, Steve. That's the reason why he couldn't get that far in that regard. But yes, the laity needs to get out there. We are become very comfortable, and I understand the irony of Steve and I sitting behind cameras talking about this right now. But we've become too comfortable with 30-second clips on TikTok or waiting till you want to talk about national. We're all waiting.
This is happening in Charlotte this weekend. I just found out about it a day ago.
Yep.
They're
Christian nationalists.
Do what?
Yeah. The Christian nationalists.
The Christian nationalist group. Now, Father Pravone's going in there. A friend of mine sent me a tweet or a text saying they need to get Abby Johnson and Father Pavone. They were trying to look for contacts because they wanted to discuss how Fatima's the solution. And no offense to Father Pavone, who you see right there below, but what's the odds on him saying Fatima's the answer at this this non-denominational, heavy Protestant, whatever you want to call it? I mean, there's Kane. If you're big WWF fans, there's Kane.
I'm a big fan of Glenn Jacobs, man. I think I would move to Tennessee and live in his town if I could. He's pretty awesome.
Mark Robinson, he's our lieutenant governor here. He's fantastic. He's Baptist. He doesn't like Catholics, I don't think. Trey Gowdy's from Spartanburg, my hometown. Lauren, she's the one from Colorado Springs. Now, let me ask. Goes back to the nationalism. Why would you care what someone from Colorado Springs had to say to Charlotte, North Carolina? It goes back to nationalism. A lot of these guys are not from. He's from Tennessee, Kane.
Yeah.
Larry Elder is from California.
California. Well, that's to sell tickets, man. You got to get to pay for this whole thing. You got to sell tickets. You got to get people in there. Look, $225. Dang.
And this isn't the only one. This is
you
just
got a rock concert Friday night.
Freedom House Church.
Yeah.
And I saw this. I told my friends, all right, either get me at the stage or get me a booth.
Right.
I'll pass out all kinds of material that these guys probably won't like. And that's, not to knock on the, Bishop.
Yeah.
Where's our Catholic? We got Father Pavone. No offense to Father Pavone. He's going to be talking about Trump, which everybody here is going to be talking about Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we were trying. I guess you and I are trying to circle around the same thing. It doesn't matter who it is. We as Catholics, and I have to start standing up for it too, got to get into the community and do it. Oh man, who's the guy? I'm looking at his book, Father Calloway, the guy who wrote The Consecration of Saint Joseph. Apparently, wherever he lives, he walks his town praying a rosary in his cassock and the circle he had, which I don't know what the name.
Father Carney and
well, the thing is, he hands out rosaries to people because they see him praying it. Mm-hmm. And so he's handing out rosaries to people. He's teaching them how to pray it. Just simple acts of people doing and being in the community is something that, but we don't wear our Catholicism as our primary jacket. Let's say our primary jacket is our good old, Olympic USA brand, right? That's what we want to show first, is that we're Americans. And
you will get more people jacked and on fire for that mindset than you will to promote the church, unfortunately. But that goes back to the water we live in. That's what we've been. It's just that's what we've been around. So you get it inside you. You got Star Spangled Awesome coming from all the news sources. The NRA. I know everyone that's gun people. Hey, what's wrong with the NRA?
No,
they're big top. They love. They're incorporation guys. Big time.
Oh, huge.
They're a big problem because of that. You ever?
Well, I mean, Steve, it's the National Rifle Association. So, I mean, even the good ones like Gun Owners of America. And when I tell people, like, yeah, you can give money to gun owners, but you're better off giving money here in Texas State Rifle Association. That's who you give your money to. You give your money to your local or state gun organizations. They're the ones who are going to do all the fundraising to do the fighting. Yeah, GOA is okay. GOA does fine. But kind of like what you're saying, just in the gun thing, you find your local ones first. Give money to them first. Gun clubs first, because that's the local level stuff.
Yeah, just like restaurants. You'd rather go to a mom and pop, or you'd rather go to Burger King. Yeah, that should be an easy one.
Depends
It
on
might
how
be
bad a day
cheaper
I'm
to go to
having.
Burger King, but his food's going to taste better, and you're helping a mom and pop and mom and dad down there. Also, this week happened, or was it this week or the end of last week? That Texas thing about the social media.
Yeah, the Fifth Circuit. Yep.
See
that
that a
came
lot
out
of
this
guys,
week.
a lot of our guys on our side are jacked about that. But he looked back, he goes, "What was the thing? Victory for First Amendment." The title. Now, how does social media get involved in that censorship? All right, no one's for censorship. I get it. Not saying that's a good thing. Well, take that back. The church, we had the, books of the forbidden books. We censored books. You censor bad stuff. So Garcia Moreno line: liberty for all except evil and evildoers. So if it's evil and you're doing bad, you have no liberty. It's called license. We get this whole liberty of all this, whatever you can say is fine. So this thing, all right, Facebook,
well, error
Twitter,
has no rights.
Error has
no rights.
Yeah, you can't go into a second grade school and a second grade class and say 2 + 2 = 6. They're not going to give you. Maybe today they
common core math. You might actually
nowadays you might get 100. Yeah, when we were in school, it wouldn't happen.
Right.
So all right, why it's not a good thing because of the whole thing with back in Trump days. He was going after them because they were platforms acting like a publishing force. So the distinction needs to be done. Are you a platform or are you a publisher? If they're a publisher, they can censor wherever they want. If they're a platform, they really can't do jack about it. Whatever you put up now, even things that we don't like, they have to self-censor on that. They have to have it in their line of core things of beliefs and things of that nature. But you just can't censor willy-nilly just because if you're a platform. Publisher, totally different. I think it's a tax bracket. Because I remember one of the guys saying that if they had to do this because if not, a ton of money was involved. So it
also depends. If you're a publisher, you don't get Section 230 protection. If you're a platform, you do. That's the big thing there, is that 230 protection.
Right. And they were saying, well, if someone's in Texas, okay, so now we're local, but we're not local. And this is a win for local, but it's not a win for local. I mean, Texas has its own free speech amendment, and so it was a violation of theirs or a violation of the federal. Because if it's a violation of federal and it's just Texas, then how is it not everyone? It's and on top of that goes, okay, that's this as he brought up. It's either publisher or platform. That's the big thing. It's not a free speech thing. It's not a First Amendment. Congress shall not pass does not mean FedBook shall not do this, or as much as we don't like it, YouTube shall not. No, it means Congress. The little building up there with those people in there, those guys shall not do this. Not if you're in whatever valley it is, Silicon Valley, you have that right, depending on if you're a platform or publisher.
And the crazy thing is, it's that nationalist idea that prevents a state like Texas or a state like North Carolina to be able to enforce its own First Amendment that says, yeah, it doesn't matter what you can do. If you want access to Texas residents to be on your platform, you have to abide by our First Amendment. You got operating in this state. Instead, because everybody's first, last, and only resort is always to appeal straight to the top. Not fight it at the local level and say, listen, you want to operate in Florida, you got to abide by their rules. Like Facebook and Google have no problem doing that. Look what they do for China. Like China says, you're going to give us Taiwan. They're like, yep, here you go. Taiwan's in the Google Maps, or they're going to give us all your data. Yep, whatever you want. Here you go. Here's 5 years. So, and that's because the Chinese say, if you want access to our data, which is what you want by putting those people on your platform, you got to abide by that rule. And of course, because we are a state, as we've established tonight, I guess because California and New York are the ones that run this state, no matter what you say, we have to abide by what they do.
And for those, just like in church history, Everyone's like, this is the worst of the worst of the worst. So we never had a bad pope before. Once you start looking at history, the Cadaver Synod, Pope Leo, was it Leo X? You go to what's his face?
Odds are you're getting a bad pope instead of a good one.
It happens. We've had the pornocracy back in the day, John the 12th, things like that happen. I mean, if you start learning that stuff, it calms you down a little bit more. Just like with this isn't the first time the USSFA has censored people. The Constitutional Convention had censorship. I think it was Connecticut. They were censoring the anti-Constitution ratifiers, the real Federalists, the anti-Federalists. They were censoring those guys.
John Adams signed in the Alien and Sedition Act.
Yeah, the whole thing of nullification.
He's the second president. He was there.
Yeah, right off the bat.
He wasn't there.
Yeah. Right off the bat, and then a little bit off the bat, right down the first. Not even we're at the gate. It happens again.
Nope. Yep.
The Lincoln swore. He threw guys in jail that didn't agree. Censored, threw them in jail, put them on the front line. It's gone. World War II, FDR. They've been censoring for the whole time this thing's been going. The experiment has been going. It's just been So don't think of this as nuts. It's just like voting fraud. Voting fraud is like the national pastime. It always happens. It started in the first one. It has continued since the last one. It's going to happen. Guess what? In the one coming up and the one after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the important thing. Go back to that. That's the thing. The nationalism. We got to get our minds off. We got to have DC solve all our problems. You could. Yeah. Where's the pro-lifers and people that aren't probably have the pro-life card, but think like you? We just got to get them going. Just show them what's going on. Even the pro-death black folks. I don't want to say African because none of them are from Africa except the real Africans.
The Woman King.
The Woman King. Show them what's going on. The Negro Project and things like that. And there was a guy in Denver it was a black gentleman that was getting signatures. And I just went up and asked him, hey, how can you square what you're doing knowing that the Negro Project is still on their books? He had no clue what I was doing. I go, don't take my word for it. Look it up. And all of his friends, the people behind the booth were just ticked, telling me, get away, get out. I go, just look it up, man. I'm sorry. If it's there, how can you square what you're doing with that? And he goes, all right, I'll check it out. But the conversations like that can start something. I have no idea. Never saw him again after that.
Yeah. It's really, I had a Monsignor at a church I used to go to as well. And he said this in a homily once and it stuck with me forever. Obviously, I'm about to repeat it. And he was going on and on. He said, you need to understand how you introduce yourself defines who you are. So do you say you are an American Catholic or do you say you're a Catholic American? Because it's pretty big how you do that. Which one do you prioritize? All right. I mean, I have since that speech, I used to say, I'm a Catholic American. I've just dropped the American. I've just dropped that. I'm just a Catholic at this point. People ask me my politics or whatever. I'm Catholic. That's what I am.
That's kind of reason why I dropped all the state holidays, holy days. I don't participate in my Labor Day. I'm working. All Memorial Day, which, all those Confederate haters, that's a Confederate thing. You hate it, but we're going to take that holiday away. But Thanksgiving, I'm going to do it the Catholic Thanksgiving. I'm going to do the one on St. Martin's Day and then participate. You don't have to. But it's one of those things after I'm learning, I got to do that. That's what our guys did. It wasn't the Pilgrim one. We're going to do I'm going to do this one. Just things like that because it gets that mindset out. And like I said, it's not hating your homeland. My homeland. I grew up in South Carolina. I love that. I have never been to Oregon. Don't care. Sorry if anybody's in Oregon. It's your country, not mine. Never been to Italy. My mom's side of family hails from Naples. But you don't go around and see me out Italian waving a flag or anything. And that's the thing after Napoleon, that's when everything became go out. That's when everyone started thinking, I'm an Italian, I'm a French, I'm French, I'm this. It was all, not, I guess, balkanized more. It was just more individual, centralized. And that's what Don Livingston talks about. After the French Revolution, Napoleon comes in, bam, united, nationalism, everyone, the country's united. And that's where you get the bad idea of the Nazi thing, which is National Socialist, and not the same thing as like what Trump was promoting, the nationalism. He was promoting more made in USA type deal. want to make USA the proud thing. USA, USA, red, white, and blue only. He wasn't looking for a conquering or we're the greatest race in the planet, anything like that. No. He was doing it for all races. If you hear all the speeches, but it's a different thing. But you hear these idiots on other programs thinking you think it's Heil Hitler or anything like that. We don't even know what nationalism is in a sense. It's just this one glory. Was it race, culture, belief, and community or anything like that. If you get in those sections about what a nation is, how's this added?
Of stakeholders here, so it is a partnership. That's how we see this. Okay, Peter.
Thanks, Green. Following up on your topper, does President Biden favor any limits on abortion?
We've been very, very clear here. Since you're talking about my topper, I was talking specifically about Senator Lindsey Graham.
And your position on his plan is clear. 15 weeks is unacceptable.
I was speaking directly to what Republicans are trying to do.
So
they are calling for a national ban, which takes us backwards. Which will weeks, right? It's a national ban which will take us backwards and will put at risk the health of women. And here's the thing about this, Peter. It's not just national ban on abortion. We're talking about privacy. We're talking about contraception. We're talking about marriage. That is what extreme Republican officials are trying to do. That's what we're speaking to. I'm not going to get into specifics here. I'm just going to lay out what they have said that they're going to do.
Why not get into specifics? The Republicans are saying we don't want abortion after 15 weeks. Why can't you say how many weeks a president thinks the limit
as you know, Kevin McCarthy put out the GOP agenda.
I'm not asking about Kevin McCarthy. I'm asking about Joe Biden and his position on abortion. How many weeks?
Peter, I'm answering your question. What Republicans are trying to do is take us backwards. They're trying to take away the rights and freedoms of Americans. That's what we're calling out, and that's what we're going to continue to call out.
Please tell me this. You said name the rights.
House Republicans oppose a pharmacy bill that would deny women essential medications. As of September, 166 House Republicans have signed onto a heartbeat bill that would decide abortion at the federal level, even though 28 of those members have since said decisions on abortion should be left to the state. And this week, a Michigan GOP official said he wants to ban contraception. So we should listen to what Republicans are trying to tell us. And that's what we are speaking out against, and that's what we're going to talk about.
And actually, the guy from Arizona, he talked about that months ago, I'm pretty sure, about banning contraception. So she's not even up on the par on keeping up to date because her notes don't have that in there. She has to look down for her answer every time. Yeah. But what right is the only right to kill the kid? That's all they care about. That's all they're running on. And they may win because they are just like Kansas. They're getting people fired up. You get, what they had? 1 million, 2 million people come out to vote on a non-presidential voting thing for one thing? That's amazing. Now, was it voter fraud? You just said it's all.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. And the Republicans are doing everything they can to scuttle the election by being Republicans, essentially. So, and I love how she says they're taking us backwards and all these other kinds of things. As Steve likes to say, it's good when they do it, but bad when we do it, or bad when they do it, but good when we do it. It's the same thing with them. They'll take rights away. They'll do all the things they want to do, but as long the two things they can never lose, but they've lost one, they're in danger of the other one, is abortion and sodomy. Those are the two things that the entire Democrat, progressive, communist, Marxist, whatever you want to call them, that group, that is their two pillars. That everything
the true
else
conservatives, the true group that's conserving what they want.
They are absolutely conserving every single thing that they want.
Think about that one. Just which group is the actual conservative? What group was saying they were going to get rid of Obamacare and did nothing to it?
Yep. Yeah.
Democrats been fighting. They're conserving their pet projects. The GOP, they just, as was a McClellan calls it, the stupid party. They just, the Dems at least do it. The GOP talk a good game. They don't do anything.
It's because the GOP stumbles into leadership Every time they get there, they act like a deer in headlights. They don't know what to do because they'd rather just sit around and fundraise. That's all they want to do. They want to sit around, complain about this country's going in the wrong direction. Now send me $5 so I can fight the left. That's essentially.
I would love to see the hit on money from the GOP and national pro-life groups since Roe went down. Because
I mean,
this thing with grandma, it's hey, I know it's good, but when they get in, they can reverse that, and you will have a federal abortion pro-death bill come down through the pipe if they attempt to get this thing. Even if they lose, that's a precedent. They're doing it now. The wrong guy is going to get a hold of it, just like anything else. When you say Trump, it's okay to bomb someone else. Well, it's got to be okay for Biden to do it. You can't.
The scary thing is, it's not that you would codify an abortion ban after 15 weeks. It's that you would now take my state, Kentucky, others, the 14 up to that 14-week mark. We can't do anything. Mm-hmm. Now we have those abortion bans here, and babies are surviving. But Lindsey Graham is going to single-handedly murder millions of children, millions of babies up to 15 weeks.
All for money and votes.
What?
All for money
for
and
money,
votes. What's the main
and
argument when you talk about a corporation with somebody in the Bill of Rights? They say what? The federal law trumps state law.
They actually did that. There was a release by the Department of Justice, I think it was today, that said if the VA performs an abortion on a military base, the supremacy clause, if it happens here in Texas, supremacy clause says Texas officials can't charge them with anything.
Oh, man.
So they already did it. Yeah, they've already made that. They even said the supremacy clause in the Constitution says when the two conflict and all this other kind of blah 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 blah. But yeah, they've already won that workaround. As long as you give them rape, incest, life of the mother, then they have all of a sudden, like you said before, rapes go up and incest goes up. Now we're in 2022. Very, very rarely is the life of the mother in danger. All of a sudden, it's going to be like we're back in 1935. It just rare. Maybe that's what the jab was supposed to do. Help put him into deadly situations. But we're going to have these uptick and new diseases and new conditions that women face that have. Our signal chat was joking about the fact that your wife had a milk and everybody was like, nope, can't have the baby for like 9 hours now. And Fawaz is like, you've been having a baby for 2,000 years. You think a glass of milk is gonna? But now they're gonna be like, did you have a Snickers 72 hours ago? We're gonna have to kill that baby because it's in danger. And they'll invent all kinds of. The problem with science is the scientists, and all the scientists are on board with the murder. All of that stuff is there. So you give them that inch, they will take that mile.
They just came out with a flu vaccine that has apparently everything in it.
Oh, the super one, right?
The super one. Yeah. It goes back to that Jurassic Park line. And maybe they shouldn't. They didn't ask if they should. They spent all that time wondering if they could do it. They should have stopped and said, should they? But yeah, no, you get ready for that. We let that go through. You're going to let that. Man, you're going to have a federal top-down pro-death thing. And I know people are having galas. Roe's dead. Yeah, you're going to have Roe on steroids.
And you're going to be wishing for Roe after they're done with a 15-week, after they're done giving liberals a 14-week runway to murder children. And there's not a damn thing you can do to stop it.
And it goes back to these guys are all friends there. You see them on TV. It's like you were telling me about that. That was some reason these videos are popping up on the Facebook link about the WWF highlights from back in the day, and it showed all the guys sitting around a TV watching, cheering on before they go out and do their act. And then it goes, that's exactly what it is. It's an act. You get behind the stage, they all yucking it up. They're all figuring it out. They're trying to do connections. They're working. They're trying to, hey, what can you do for me? I'll rub your back. I'll grease your palms. So don't you think this is not, something ain't going on behind your back on this? One, GOP needs some votes. They know it. They need money, and abortion brings in money for both sides. Death brings in a ton, and this brings in a ton because they just keep saying, and he gets all these all the Christians out there, the evangelicals said, I'm sending money out there, go ahead. And they're going to preach about it, tell the people, go send your money to the GOP, because let's look what Lindsey Graham, God bless him, down in South Kakalaki, they're going to send some money up there to him. This is just a money thing. And it's going to come back, and it's going to be massacre for the it's going to be a terrible thing for the unborn. It's got, there's no other way to do it. The GOP does this precedent. Democrats come in with a big time thing. They have a better sales pitch, have a better ground team. They have a better way of getting the voters out. They will win that vote. They will get that rammed in down the road.
Absolutely. It's guaranteed. It's already, as they say, it's baked in. It's baked in.
It's inevitable.
So it is. It's inevitable at that point. But yeah, that's your first topic there on abortion and all of that. Speaking of which, we can move on. I think let's talk about the economy and how the economy continues to just absolutely nosedive, despite the fact that the Inflation Reduction Act has passed and all these other things have passed. But everybody under Trump, when Trump used to take credit for the economy, they used to tell, oh, the president's not responsible for the economy, so I don't know why he's taking credit for it. So now, and then when the economy was going up, Biden got credit for it. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, oh no, it's not. The government has nothing to do with these recession fears. Housing tanking, absolutely tanking. It is going. I believe the correction is going to hit around February of next year, and it's going to be bad. It's starting to happen now. It's going to be bad.
You're bad when you lose CNN.
Hours before James Taylor serenaded the crowd celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act. I've seen fire in the sea. A new inflation report showed consumer prices remain hotter than expected.
His number one economic priority is to deal with inflation. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely.
In August, prices rose 8.3% from a year earlier, compared to 8.5% in July, meaning that while drivers may be feeling relief at the pump with gas prices going down, rent, healthcare, restaurant meals, and furniture all remained high. A core inflation index that doesn't include food or fuel also rose sharply.
I think there's more of that. It's just Fox interrupts them. I think MSNBC has a big thing on. Here's the clips. Was there? We'll put this in the show notes for you to send your friends.
The prices of
MSNBC, you lose MSNBC too,
and that hits a lot of people really week to week. You could black out the news. You could stop paying attention to whatever. You can't ignore that everything costs more than it did last year. Here's the headline: inflation stubbornly high, wages not keeping pace with these fast rising prices, which they note is also an uncomfortable truth for a president who promised to make real wage gains a centerpiece of his economic program.
There's CNN again on exactly what we just heard. Painfully high, worst day for the Dow since June of 2020. Because if you saw the video, as he was saying, the Dow, when he's announcing it, getting crushed.
Well, you can dress everything up, but when numbers come in, you can't dress these numbers in any way. You can't put lipstick on it and call it lipstick still on a pig, and it just doesn't matter with this stuff because people. Yep.
The buy now, pay later programs. You ever heard that in your life?
Dude, you can put Domino's pizza on layaway. You probably don't want. If you've seen a Domino's ad, you can make 5 payments of like $15 or whatever it is for a Domino's pizza. So that's how bad all of this stuff is. So it's pretty terrible. But that's what happens when you are in this system, and this system is bent on the destruction of or controlled demolition or whatever you want to call it, to set up a digital currency, a social credit score. There's a bunch of different supposed ways they think they could go about this. I know last Friday, Biden dropped some kind of thing on central digital bank currency and the startup of it. I had a guy on Tuesday who's in the crypto market. He does a website called gethedge.io. He's a pretty good guy. And I said, what about the CBDC thing? He's like, dude, the government can't make it. They can't even make a website. However, watch your local banks with stable coin.
Mhm.
Stable coin is starting to be used. They're starting to get your information. The fact that Ethereum, some of you guys will know, Ethereum went from a decentralized chain to a more centralized chain, which is not great because that gives more of your information off. It's not as secure. All this other, I know a little bit about crypto, and then it turns into Latin for me. I don't really know the rest of it, but I do know that the government probably won't be able to do a CBDC. Who are they going to rely on, Steve? They're going to rely on big bank, big business, the same people they were just able to pressure into making a brand new code to track gun sales, Visa, MasterCard, American Express. The same banks that they bailed out in 2008 will come back to them and be like, all right, we need to start merging stablecoin and doing all these other things, offering that stablecoin, and then you give that information to us.
Oh, yeah, you look at Clown Plan last week. There's our commercial in Ireland, virtual commercial. It's real. You're really there, but it had all these little pop-up things like you just scored 5 points here. You did this you got $10 credit here, and then there's no transaction in hands. There's not even a card swipe. There's nothing. It's just walk in, walk out, and somehow you made a transaction over there. And as they keep saying, if it's some kind of government or banks in control like that, they can cut you off. Here's this kind of ties into that and what we were talking about the last segment with Benioff from Salesforce. If there's a tier, he's number 3 in the WEF probably.
Not our first conversation about what is a CEO's role in political issues. What do we do when it comes to actually making something happen that supports our employees? The number one thing is we must have our employees back. You know, and I know, we are dealing with a whole series of crazy presidents, crazy governors, crazy mayors all over the world, in every country, in every city, in every state. The number one thing I can do is let my employees know I'm here for them and I will 100% support them. And if they're not happy where they are, you're right.
Mark, who is crazy?
I'm really talking about all of the situations that I've had to go through over the last decade, especially, where our employees will contact me and say something just is not right. You know the story, for example, in Indiana.
Phone call.
We're the largest tech employer in Indiana.
And I was going to bring up Indiana because, Mark, for people who don't know, in 2015, you threatened to not just relocate employees. In 2015, you threatened to pull all of Salesforce out of Indiana because of a law that would discriminate against LGBTQ people. And you won that fight, and they didn't end up enacting that law. Is that something you're considering now in states restricting abortion or outlawing abortion, to not just offer to relocate people, but pull Salesforce, pull resources?
We actually just said, if you're going to discriminate against our employees, we're not going to be able to set up shop there. And when we said that, 200 other companies the next day, the largest companies in the United States, all said, we agree, we have to support our LGBTQ communities as well. Look, we have to be for equality. We have to be for dignity. We have to be for the equality and dignity of every human being. And if you're not for equality and dignity, then, this is not something that I can work with, and we're going to have to exit your city or your state, just as we have in many places.
Well, you don't afford killing your kid. We got to leave. Which the governors, they have two. If they were consistent, we should just say, you know what, get out. We don't need
There was an article in Reuters today that was about this couple from Texas that relocated to Denver because the abortion laws are just so strict, and they just can't live in a place that is just so restrictive. Of course, they're obviously practicing sterilization and it's a young couple, if they're so concerned about killing children instead of bringing children into the world that they'll leave the state. And of course, big oil is because they're being, beaten around because of fossil fuels. They're doing everything they can to be more inclusive and diverse and all these other things. But I just sent you that BlackRock ESG clip with him him hanging out with old Slick Willie, and this is what they feel.
I want to thank you.
And just to let you know, if you want to watch more of this, I have the whole series on Clown Planet that was done on Hump Day, mouth dropping. It's just like they're saying the quiet part out loud in your face.
They're screaming it at this.
Here's your conspiracy theorist right here, Bill Clinton.
For urging people to consider the social impact of their investments and try not just to go for a quick rate of return if it's damaging to society, but instead to try to build a future we could all share. But what does that mean now? Well, what's going to happen?
I can't even put a sentence together.
For the next
Let me give him a
6,
shot of
7 months,
adrenal
how's
chrome.
Russia going to play into this? How's the pandemic going to play into this? It won't go away, and it won't kill us, apparently. So where are we, and what do you think now?
Well, Mr. President, thank you for inviting me here. It's an honor to be here. Well, the next 7 months, we're in a transition, and it's not going to be a pretty transition. We have food insecurity worldwide, which is going to be creating more elevated prices. We have not seen all the increases that we should expect to see in food. We have imbalances in energy right now in the short term. And then on top of that, we have the European government, the UK government, and the United States government doing quite a large amount of fiscal stimulus at a time when we're seeing record inflation. There are many bad policies that got us there.
Those two things aren't connected.
But we're living in this period of time now with really elevated inflation, high on insecurity. And I would say probably the most important thing that we're missing right now, and this is something that over the last 34 years building BlackRock, we build BlackRock on the foundation of hope. Hope is missing in the world right now. The polarization of ideas, the polarization of political opinions has really created more and more confusion. And there's just growing fear. And that growing fear is showing up in so many areas.
And they like I said, that goes up around a whole symposium that the Clintons had. Don't worry, it gets worse. But we'll only show you a little bit. You want more, just go, we'll have the links. And again, go to Clown Planet. I have them all played in there. It's just, I didn't say a word. Just next. Here's what they're saying.
Speaks for itself.
Yeah. Hey, I was telling Rick beforehand, here's on Glenn Beck's show on what actually happened with gas, the price of gas. And I'm not 100% always with Beck, but he brings this lady on the graph. And the graph's the important thing on the decrease in oil.
We saw a very hot CPI report as well yesterday. As we know, the CPI is one of the measures of inflation. It measures sort of the consumer inflation. We do know that it's understated because they have messed with it for the last several decades to underplay it, but it's still a benchmark that we use to sort of compare. It was considered hot by all expectations. We knew there was going to be some decline in the headline number because of the sharp decline in gasoline prices.
Wait. But could you explain why the price of gasoline is going down?
Sure. So before we get to the nitty-gritty, so there are a couple of reasons why gasoline is coming down. Some of it was our president pulling a little bit of a stunt and pulling oil out of our emergency reserves and putting it out into the market to kind of depress it. Some of it was artificial because the gas taxes have been on hiatus in certain locales. But the biggest reason that the gasoline prices are coming down is because the price of oil is coming down. And the biggest reason the price of oil is coming down is because the price of oil got too high. It's just pure demand destruction. There's this saying in the commodities market that the best cure for high prices is high prices. And that's what we saw, not only here in the United States, where people maybe decided not to take a road trip or to reroute their lives, so that they're not using as much energy and particularly gasoline, but also on a global stage. Obviously, the prices are going through the roof, as we know in Europe, completely self-inflicted. But, again, they're having to make those same choices. And then China, as we've discussed previously, is having its own issues, and particularly with parts of that country being under lockdown and being a top consumer of oil, they weren't using it. So the demand destruction is that reason, that big reason that we had a decrease in oil and then a decrease in gasoline.
Just confirm that this is a good way to look at the words demand destruction, because you'll hear people say, well, what we're looking for is some demand destruction in the oil prices and blah, blah, blah. And, that just kind of goes over people's heads. And I described it today.
I started at the wrong spot with the graph.
Because of these short gasoline prices.
Wait. But could you explain why the price of gasoline is going down?
Sure. So before we get to the nitty gritty, so there are a couple of reasons why gasoline is coming down. Some of it was our president pulling a little bit of a stunt and pulling oil out of our emergency reserves and putting it up.
Look at that.
Wow. And crude it's a canary in the coal mine, right? For both, for inflation and recession/depression.
Yeah. And if that's the way it is, you've talked now, how we've talked about EV cars. Hey, electric cars being charged at night makes America's power grid unstable. Call me shocked.
Yeah,
so
right.
How many people have cars out there? How many people they're going to try to get you in all these cars? Wait a minute. If they get rid of oil, what also goes with it? Gas. It doesn't matter we fight that or not. If you don't break away from this and start drill on your own land, you're not going to be able to use any of that.
There's a reason why the country of Kuwait is the wealthiest nation on this planet, is because they just drill and they pump oil. Yes. And the fact that Texans, we have 99 billion barrels in West Texas alone. And yet we are stuck. We have enough oil in East Texas for 100 years. Yet our governor is a nationalist, and Texans should be fine. Texans should be like, hey, you guys in North Carolina, you want some of this extra oil we're just pumping out? We have so much of it we don't know what to do with. But and Louisiana should be doing the same thing. They should be going off the coast and drilling that sucker to Kingdom Come. Alabama, Mississippi, any of the Gulf states should be doing that. But what are we doing? Oh, sorry, the federal government says I can't. You bunch of losers in that regard.
But they're getting paid to do that. It goes back into the Great Reset. The BP and all those guys, they were saying they were going to do the net zero thing. The same thing that Biden was saying in the second or third debate. They said the same things. They're in on it. Corbett talks about it and how big oil conquered the world, part 2. They're getting paid to be the villain, and they're getting paid well because they're part of the green movement, the Green New Deal. That's all. They're getting rid of the oil. They're getting rid of this, and you're going to be stuck with nothing. That's why Father Abernathy in his series on Ladder Divine Ascent talks about if you can move, move. And he doesn't bring this up. Think about when you move, if you can move, and if you can go within walking distance of your parish. And yes, I know we talk about getting out of cities, but if you're in a parish that is in the city, all right, convert the city. You got one or two decisions: get out or convert it. C is not a response. If you complain about it, you go to it. Great, go to it. Work on that area. You can change that area. You see, all these saints have done it in the past. These aren't mythical stories. This isn't what's his face in the giant and the jelly bean or whatever. I can't remember the thing. Peter Pan or anything. These are actually real stories. You read the lives of the saints. They did this. We can do it too. You emulate them. Just like I was telling my wife, but today with the 3 cops coming to me with the not obeying the complying with the face mask thing, I'm thinking of guys like, if I can't do this, how can I do something like a blessed Franz Jagersteiner when the Nazis came saying, you got to go fight for us? How you say no to that if you can't say no to putting a 6-ounce piece of cloth on your face? How you do Strawberger or whatever his name, I can't pronounce it, with the Valkyrie? How you just, how you keep that principle? If you can't practice these small things, evangelize the thing, or evangelize one person, the lady at the restaurant you go to, give her a medal or something. If we can't do that, that's why I go with Twitter. We're scared to do that. We ain't scared to go there because we're hiding behind a keyboard and we're not personal. We're hiding behind a screen and they can't say no or anything. You don't have the I don't know if it's infancy and all of us or not, but you don't have that risk of rejection that no one wants. It doesn't feel good to be rejected, and especially if you feel like you just got rejected on the faith. Now you feel like that, and oh, look at that kook, that fanatic, which is okay to be a fanatic and all these other things. But some reason it's not okay to be a fanatic for the faith, for Christ. And it's fan. You could dress like he's in Rick's in Texas. You can dress like a blue and silver and be a cowboy.
Dressed like a longhorn. Everybody's gonna be dressed like a longhorn tomorrow.
Hook 'em. Yeah, that's totally cool. But you're going to go to mass on Sunday? You're doing the Ember Week fast? You are fanatic. You're nuts. But it's okay in secular world.
It is. And I joke that, your TLM is in a bad part of town. Well, guess what? When the financial collapse happens, it'll be a lot cheaper to move around that church. It'll be a lot cheaper for everybody. Y'all don't want to move around that church anymore. You get 10 or 12 families to do it. All of a sudden, that block is now a Catholic kingdom. And then you spread out.
Start looking at like Dayton, Ohio. It's that parish right there, Holy Family, I think it is. Beautiful parish, but everything around it's deserted. It's gone. If something crash like that, how many guys come back in? You could do John Senior style. You could open up your Catholic bar, the hairdresser place. You can. There's all kinds of possibilities. You just got to have the motivation to do it.
Absolutely. And well, what about the Democratic mayor? If you have a block, right? That's how the Italians used to do it up in New York and in Boston and Providence. They used to have Federal Hill in Providence, man, and that was like the Italian place. So yeah, you may have a Democratic mayor. You just let's just be honest, you turn it into a Catholic no-go zone for him, right? You can kind of come in and try to enforce your laws, but you won't be outnumbered. The Muslims do it. Let's just be real. Let's talk about the Muslims do it. They go into a community, they dominate that community, and then the cops kind of just drive by like, everybody good, eh? Okay, bye, and then that's it. Yeah, if Catholics had that, I guess we're trying to talk about that today. If Catholics had that fire, what about growing food? You can grow food in cities, man. It may not be like sprawling farms, but people have done it in the past. You can grow food in other places, and if you get a block, then maybe you open up a section like a park or something, and then that's a community garden.
Yeah,
there are answers. Catholics, sorry. We don't want to do business with each other. A lot of times we joked we can't even stand each other. We can't even stand each other because, well, I'm a Sedevantes or whatever, and I'm SSPX and I'm FSSP and I'm this Saint guy. Yeah, we're all on the same freaking team. We're all trying to honor God. We're all trying to get to heaven, and we're too much. We're sniping and fighting against each other, and we won't get together and put ourselves in a place and truly dominate that place and offer it up for the glory of God.
Here's something that the other guys are moving in on. Have you seen this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know who's going to lead that is Elon Musk.
And if you're scoring at home and you don't believe it, WhiteHouse.gov. Executive order on advancing biotech and biomanufacturing innovation for a sustainable, safe, and secure American bioeconomy the day after September 11th, 2022. By the authority vested in me, the president, by the Constitution and laws of the U.S. of A, hereby as follows. That's technocracy, eugenics, transhumanism, coming at you at a theater near you, rated R.
Yep, absolutely. Rated X for extinction. But yeah, this has been the plan all along, is to set all of this up, is to get this all set up so they can that is the end goal is death, because that's what they worship. And so all of this is what, they got used to technology. They got used to the idea of transhumanism with movies and pop culture and all that stuff. So now, there you go. It's right in front of you.
Yep, there's the introduction. We need to develop genetic engineering technologies and techniques to be able to write circuitry for cells and predictably program biology in the same way in which we write software and program computers. Wow. I remember hearing that 1.5 years, 2 years ago about the jabs.
The mRNA.
That and then your body is like a software. You can turn it on. We can upload. We can program. I've mentioned this before. The last podcast of 2020 and the WEF podcast thing, they talk about stuff like this, being able to basically upload. You don't have to take another injection anymore. We can just upload things into your body. Unlock the power of biological data, including through computing tools and artificial intelligence, and advance the science of scale-up production, while reducing the obstacles for commercialization so that innovative tech and products can reach markets faster. All paid by your tax dollars, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The whole idea. And what is this? What is this? It's their pride in how much they hate God that they want to try to quote unquote supplant him by being the creators, by being the manipulators. They want to take the power that is exclusively given to God, which is to grant life, to create life, to have it done according to his will, and now they want to modify it to their will because they hate him so much.
And don't worry, they'll get your kids. Secretary of Education, they're going to have within 200 days of this date of order, recommending new efforts to promote multidisciplinary educational programs. Your kid's going to come home a zombie. You send them to a public school, maybe in a Catholic school, and be a promoter of transhumanism. Read this. Here's the executive order right here.
Yeah, it's right there, guys. It was signed and nobody even gave a rip.
Yeah, this is 11 days ago. Nobody's. You heard that anywhere? We've been talking about the Catholic guys. Been talking about Pope Francis that are blue in the face. The real hyper papists are the ones that can't stop talking about. And here's what's going on behind the scenes. We would just focus on becoming holy and saints. Yes, here I'm showing you these things. We're also doing the things we're trying to tell it to. And we're also trying to encourage people to do it. I still need to do the podcast on Father Mateo. Coming up next month, October, the October Challenge. Everything that's going on and is going on. If you can't fight every day of the month to do this one, I don't want to hear a complaint.
All right, that's it. People are Steve to an effect. It's almost like they've already given up. They're just kind of waiting, right? Oh well, it's gonna happen. You know, how are you gonna stop them?
Let me just tweet about it.
Right? Yeah.
We could do about it. I ain't doing anything. What you could tweet about it?
Yeah, we can hashtag. We can get some hashtags going. Maybe that'll save us. But
one of the most historic investment to fight climate change. As we are talking about extreme weather, I've gotten multiple questions on Puerto Rico and what the people of Puerto Rico, our brothers and sisters, are going through. What may happen in this hurricane season. A lot of that is going to be helped by the work that this president has done, bipartisan infrastructure law. Again, the Inflation Reduction Act.
That's amazing.
You know, I think I was more on board when Trump wanted to nuke the hurricanes than spend money about it. At least with Trump's, we were kind of more American fighting them. This is just like spending money. It doesn't work.
We're ending hurricanes, ladies and gentlemen. Even though we just had one, it's now into September. Finally had one. It ain't hit us yet. It's going to hit Canada. What's going to hit Canada?
Yeah. I mean, that's just a nor'easter at that point. So we'll see how that goes.
Who was the Puerto Rico got hit? They lost all their power. That happens every hurricane. It was a category 1. People are going epic storm. It was a category 1.
It was like a sneeze. Puerto Rico is an island.
Those guys survived Hugo and Katrina when they were gigantic.
Yeah, but everything is trying to be supersized to scare you into compliance in that regard. And let's say you do vote that way. Let's talk about the EU real quick. Or in Italy, the far right candidate looks like they are going to take the prime minister position, I believe, in a sweeping rebuke of the WEF and the world order. Except when you ask the president of the EU about what she thinks about this election of this right-wing extremist.
If things go in a difficult direction, I've spoken about Hungary and Poland. We have tools. If things go in the right direction, and people as a body that is always where always governments have to be accountable to, play an important role.
Well, and this is why you can't be part of them blobs, man. Because these people voted for it, and this lady's going to step on them and be like, "We'll sanction you until you get somebody we want."
You know what? I'm not. I'm going right to a powerful source.
Yeah. Our Lady of Windsor. I'm sorry, Our Lady. That's
This is
terrible.
not the Onion. This is the dailyfail.co.uk.
I apologize. Sorry about it.
And the reason why is the Roman Catholic peer Charles Moore makes the proposition pointing out that the Church of England, which she was Supreme Governor, accepts pre-Reformation canonizations and could recognize the Queen. Quote, if I were minded to do so, he writes in The Spectator, this is the best possible moment to start. She also possessed, he argues, 2 formal qualifications for sainthood. You know, the main one being you have to be Catholic. They just skirted around that one. Heroic virtue and 2 miracles, adding, the world is already full of people who believe the late Queen cured them of this and that. I believe.
So what? Stopping communism? Was that the first one? And what was the second one?
Biden stopped hurricanes because he signed a piece of paper. So if Biden can stop hurricanes, what do we say? Are you telling you heretic that the Queen couldn't kill somebody with the sniffles?
And to kind of tie that back to what we were talking in the first one, it's a complete lack of understanding of the faith. It's like, oh, Queen Elizabeth was around and she was kind of like a good person and people liked her. She should totally be a saint. Like, she should totally be a saint, right? Because like she was kind of nice and she had corgis and she had a commercial with Paddington Bear. So I mean, that's obviously a thing for sainthood. No, it is not.
You modernists, are you saying that her miracles weren't qualified?
Nah. First of all, she's banned because she's not even Catholic. Let's do that. I'm sorry
How did this guy skirt that one?
It's just a complete and lack of understanding of what it actually means to be a saint. Because the whole idea of being a saint's been perverted anyway.
Argument for a different day on things like that. We won't get into weeds on there, but yeah, for Anglicans though, could there be somebody in there because they got punished or sacrificed or suffered in a way that we don't know about? Sure, they say that we'll be surprised. I think St. Bernard said we'll be surprised on who made it and who didn't make it. But yeah, this was Clown Planet worthy. But Rick saw it, and I saw that he brought it up. I go, yeah, why not? We'll bring it up just for some if you don't laugh, you cry moment.
Pretty as we're ending the show, we're giving you some stuff to kind of smile on the way out, and the fact that you have people. The guy actually sat down, outlined this article, wrote the article, submitted it to an editor. The editor looked at it and said, "Yeah, that works," and then published it.
Maybe he wrote back, "Are you sure?"
Is this satire? Did you mean to submit this to the Babylon Bee? Are you sure that?
I know who sent it.
Oh, we got a lot to do. Gotta say hi to me. We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway, this woman helped me get an awful lot done. Anyway.
That man is creepy.
It was really Brandon. He really did it because it's the church to state. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't
Catholic Joe Biden. Catholic Joe Biden there. I mean, that dude just gives me the creeps at this point. Just awful. Just an awful person.
Your friend. You voted for him.
Yeah, he's not my friend. Yeah, I'm not from Delaware.
Blame
I'm
you.
from Rhode Island. I got all the crappy politicians from Rhode Island. You can't give me Delaware, too.
I got nothing else.
Yeah, that's it. Do we have one more video clip, or do you want to play the one with the CDC?
Let's talk about where we are right now. More than 2.5 years now into the pandemic. Many of us are fully vaccinated. I still have to get that booster you got just now. A lot of people.
I can't wait to get it.
Gotten sick, obviously. So there's an immunity with that as well. How do you look at this new booster in the fight against the pandemic? How confident are you that it'll be better than the previous vaccines? How do you read that?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, let me just say I am here getting my updated fall vaccine because I think it's critically important to do. As you know, we are in a very different place than we were last year or even 2 years ago at this time. There's a lot of immunity out there because people have been vaccinated and have been previously infected. But all the data from this new bivalent vaccine have demonstrated that it will protect you against, more likely protect you against the strains that we have circulating right now, those Omicron BA.5 strains, as well as keep you well protected because we've seen that some of that protection can wane over time. So we are really encouraging everybody to roll up their sleeves and get this updated bivalent vaccine.
And Dr. Walensky, what was your reaction when you heard President Biden say the pandemic is over? And what do you think of that?
I lost a ton of money that day.
You know, here's what I can tell you. We're in a
go on
different place.
vacation.
Schools are open and businesses are open. We have a lot of population immunity out there right now. We have a lot of protection from vaccination already. Deaths are still at 350 a day, but they are way lower than they were a year ago, 2 years ago at this time. So we are continuing to do everything we can, promoting these updated booster shots so that people can get the protection that they need, but recognizing that we are in a much better place than we were a year ago at this time.
This propaganda brought to you by Pfizer. So,
Pfizer, Moderna, and CVS.
we apologize
Rhode
for our
Island's own
viewers for lying
CVS.
to him for the last 2 minutes.
Yep, that's just terrible. No cry room this week because it's just Steve and I. Saint of the week is Mrs. Cunningham. A, for being married to Steve, and B, for bringing another life into the world. So
I'll get a cry room
congratulations
for all
on
the
that.
cameras that got upset at me for not wearing the muzzle.
Oh, okay, fine.
One got mad. No joke. One was sitting there literally like this and got mad at me, looked at me, goes, "You need to put your mask on." I'm not kidding. And then she went,
Yeah.
but I
By
saw
the way,
how you what?
it's well, they're better than us. That's all. They're
The
better
lady
than us.
next to her,
That's
the first time around, she didn't have it on at all. She's yelling at me. I go, "You're behind the screen. It's supposed to protect you. The lady next to you doesn't have anything on. I don't know."
It's a joke. Whoever
Anyways.
believes.
I appreciate
that's all
man
it
for
is.
doing it.
Yeah, of course, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Like, share, and subscribe. The news from the pew. We'll talk to you all next week. God bless and Viva Cristo Rey.
I feel like I need like some candlelight music for your background.